Hello, and welcome to another Arizona Hip Historian Virtual Happy Hour Tour. I am Brenda Holt with AARP Arizona. We are the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that is dedicated to empowering people 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. And with a nationwide presence of nearly 38 million members across the nation and over 900,000 right here in Arizona, we work to strengthen communities and we advocate for what matters most to families, such as health security, financial stability, and personal fulfillment, to name a few. During the months of May and June, we will focus on healthy living and amplify the call to action for the 50-plus community to develop healthy habits for mental well-being. As the country continues to grapple with the ebbs and flows of the COVID-19 pandemic, many are eager to move into a sense of normalcy. Many in the 50-plus community have developed coping mechanisms that show a strong sense of resiliency and the need to anchor themselves. Ongoing public health concerns, economic issues, and global conflicts are still weighing on older adults. By covering topics like sleep, stress management, healthy eating, and exercise, AARP demonstrates that its healthy living offerings can help Americans develop and maintain healthy habits for their mental well-being. Visit us for resources and information at www.aarp.org/mental health or at www.aarp.org/Arizona. Thank you for attending tonight's session. Have a good evening.
Folks, welcome to the show. Get ready to meet your host for the night, Arizona's very own hip historian himself, Marshall Shore.
Well, good evening. I want to welcome you all to Arizona History Happy Hour. I am so glad you can all make it this evening. Oh my gosh. So here in Arizona History Happy Hour, we're going to have lots of fun this evening. My name is Marshall Shore, and today is June 16th. Now, it's kind of an interesting day. So, it's been this day throughout years has been a popular or unpopular day because of so many fires. Why, back in 1888, downtown Holbrook burnt down. Back in 1896, the Yuma prison, its new electrical plant, burnt down to the ground. And back in 1910, they were able to get the Catalinas. There was a fire down there. They were able to get that under control and save all kinds of great things. Now, it's also a fun day because it's Fresh Veggie Day. Now, tomorrow just happens to be Eat Veggie Day. So today is, I guess, the day we're supposed to be going out and picking all of those peppers, all the green peppers, bell peppers, habaneros, all those things that are kind of in season right now, right here. It is also Sea Turtle Day, where we get to celebrate those beautiful sea creatures that are showing perseverance and resiliency as they've been nesting on beaches for thousands and if not even millions of years. Now, it's also National Fudge Day, which has been a favorite tourist attraction here in the U.S. People have been buying it on vacation since the 19th century. And if you need some sugar, there's lots of it there. Now, also, it is Recess at Work Day. This was started as a day to kind of get people to forget about their typical average day and really just focus on teamwork and celebrating each other's successes. Why, some people would even not call today work, but just call it fun. So, what can you expect today? Well, we're going to go through. We have a little bit of trivia coming up because we always have an amazing guest on. And tonight, just you wait. Now, we also do From the Vault, which is going to be a fun little bit about an event coming up this weekend, but also some cool Arizona history that a lot of people don't know about, and industrial design. We also do a little bit of Arizona music, as well as Little Arizona. And of course, there is a beverage. And let's see, if this is your first time watching, you might wonder, who is that man and why is he on my screen? Well, my name, as I said, is Marshall Shore. I got here a little over 22 years ago from Brooklyn. I was working in this beautiful Carnegie building and decided to trade that all for a little library in South Phoenix, a 1950 branch library, the Harmon Library, where there was this rich oral tradition of the community and how it evolved to where it was. And so that really kind of got me interested in kind of that modern history and looking around going, not a lot of people were looking at that. And then moving into a 1956 ranch that is, when we first moved in, it was oh so many tones of beige. I'm happy to say now it is 2 tones, seafoam, cantaloupe. And there's what my kitchen looks like today. All that buttercream yellow fantasticness, from the tile to the electric appliances, because back in the 50s, it was all about electricity, not about gas. All right. So when I first moved here, all I heard, there was no history here. But you know, I quickly realized that was not true, because every time I would go for an adventure, whether it was on foot, on bike, in a car, I would come across so many amazing people, places, and stories. And again, that's kind of what got me going and doing exactly what we're doing today. Now, I also want to give a shout out to, I think, that post-war boom that changed Arizona forever. All those GIs either had been stationed here, trained here, or passed through on the way to somewhere else. After the war, were moving here in huge numbers, looking for a new way of life, and boy, did they find it. I'm also called the hip historian because I like to play with modern history. And so coming up, actually next week, I'm going to be out in the East Valley doing a program on Disney in Arizona. You know, I became obsessed with just Disney in Arizona and finding out so much more. And every time I turn around, it seems like there's another bit of Disney right here in Arizona. Coming up this Sunday at the Arizona Heritage Center out in Papago Park is Juneteenth. And so that's going to be a really fun day, and we'll be talking more about that. And then also on Tuesday at the St. James Catholic Church in Tempe, I'm going to be doing LGBTQ history in Arizona. And then just got this today. So in July, I guess I'm doing dinner and a seance down at the historic Greenway House down in Bisbee. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And there'll be more information coming up about that. I'm going to be there with Francine Powers, who grew up in Bisbee and wrote a book on Haunted Bisbee, as well as Deb Branning, who is she's my co-host when I do walking tours with Ghost and History downtown, or even back when we did the bus tour. So I see some of you have found the chat. You know, you can always reach out and throw things out via that way, or you can throw things out through Facebook, Instagram, email, or even via my website, because I love to hear from you all. In fact, some of my best stories have come from you saying, hey, what about this? And because it is happy hour, we do indeed have a beverage. And because it is recess at work day, PJ said, oh, you know what you're going to do? You're going to have, and let's see, there we go. Because, it doesn't like the tropical fronds on top of it. So this is watermelon frozen cocktail that comes in basically a juice pack. And so let's, he likes to challenge my abilities to see how, oh, and wow. You put it in the freezer and then you get yourself a nice little slushy frozen cocktail. And I chose, and so today we are doing a watermelon frozen cocktail out of the freezer. Darn, who knew? Such modern conveniences. Well, that's going to make summer a lot more enjoyable. All right. So today we're going to talk about Little Arizona. We are going to talk about Williams, Arizona. So Williams was founded back in 1881, has a population just over 3,200 folks off in Coconino County, and is originally named for Old Bill Williams. And if you go into the park there is a monument to him. And so you'll see him. Now, if you're wondering about Williams, it was the last place where Route 66 was shut down. Back in 1984, there was a lawsuit that finally got dropped. And so they opened up that last bit of I-40, putting the nail in the coffin of Route 66. But just a little bit over from there, Seligman started the whole idea of how do we reimagine this. And so they started the whole nostalgia of Route 66. So you can go walk along historic Route 66 in Williams, as well as you can hop on a train from the old hotel there and go off to the Grand Canyon and go have an amazing time on the Grand Canyon. You can ride in a vintage train. They have a couple different trains, as well as they have a really cool dome car, which when I go, that's what I want to do. So that way I can see all around. Now, also, while you're up there, you can go check out Arizona, where you can go see a lot of different animals kind of wandering around in their natural habitat. Why, from goats to white bison to burros, and have all kinds of fun driving around about a 3-mile loop to see all those critters. Now, if you want to get out and get your hands on some critters, you can go to the Grand Canyon Deer Park, where you can enjoy a little petting zoo. Well, probably not the porcupines. They probably aren't very good to be petted. But you can see a camel, kind of the historic roots of Route 66, going back to Edward Beale. You can even see kangaroos. And so you can go have a lot of fun off in Williams, Arizona. And now I am so excited because we are going to bring on our oh so special guest. And so she is the inaugural Poet Laureate of Phoenix, Arizona. She is also the founding editor of Rinky Dink Press. They publish micro poetry. I'm sure we'll figure out what that is. As well as founding director of Revisionary Arts, recipient of an Arts Hero Award back in 2017. She won also Arizona Humanities Outstanding Speaker Award for 2022. As well as she is with ASU, an assistant professor of practice at U of A Biomedical, and a lecturer here at ASU. And so let's welcome to the screen. Oh my gosh, get ready for some fun. Hello, and wait a minute, who was that?
It was Bisbee. I had to get him to stay because that's my cat's name, Bisbee.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
Wait, I have 3 cats. His twin brother's name is Jerome, and his sister's name is Phoenix.
Aww, nice.
I love Arizona. So I named my cats after my favorite Arizona cities.
Understandable. I mean, oh my gosh, so this weekend is Pride in Bisbee.
Is it?
It is, and I'm not
going.
going.
Happy Pride, everyone! I'm not going either. I'm actually just getting over COVID again, so I'm probably not going to go anywhere. I thought I felt 100%, and then I went to work yesterday, and I was like, I do not.
Take it easy. It's yeah.
I know.
So enjoy. So, gosh. So okay. So, are you a native Arizonan?
I'm not, but I started high school out here. And I'm getting up there in age. So I do feel like I've been here much longer than most.
I know. Exactly. I've been here 22 years and it feels like lifetimes I've been here.
Yeah. I moved out here in 88. I can't do the math. It's a lot of years.
Yeah.
That's a lot of years. Yeah. I'm practically a native. I moved out here when I was so young. So
Right. Exactly. I mean, you've seen so much change, and
yeah,
you've been a part of some of that change,
I
as we're
have
going to
been,
talk
yeah,
about.
especially in downtown Phoenix. But
Yeah.
I kind of started off as a rock hound. So I was big into exploring old mines in Arizona, collecting rocks and minerals.
Oh.
Yeah, that was my kind of early Arizona geeky hobby. So shout out to all the rock hounds out there.
I'm saying there's lots of rocks out here. I mean, from quartzite to
Yeah, I used to go out near Globe a lot, but a lot of old mines across the state. Really amazing rock hunting. So the salt mines in Camp Verde, awesome, super accessible.
well, and for me, that was one of the things that drew me out here, because it's like the geology, the differences. I mean, you've got the white mountains, the black mountains.
Yep,
You've got all
right.
the lava flows and everything else. So
Yeah,
there's
the
all this
geography.
geodiversity.
Yeah, the geography is amazing. I think when I was in college, I took a few geology classes, and I think I remember learning that Arizona is the only state, perhaps the only place that has 8 ecological zones housed within the state. So that's pretty phenomenal. I always
Yeah.
thought that was a good reason to stay. You
Well,
can
and the
go
fact that we have
up or
plants
down.
that grow here that don't grow anywhere else because of some of those overlapping zones. So it's like that zone doesn't exist anywhere else on the planet other
And the
than right here.
riparian forests, oh my gosh,
Right.
amazing. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I love everything. I love the Grand Canyon. I've hiked it many times in my youth. I haven't hiked it as an older person. I don't know.
I've got
I mean,
friends that
I
have,
remember
and I'm
getting
like,
heat stroke. I was getting heat stroke when I was like 22 and hiking the Grand Canyon, so I don't know if I'm going to do it again.
exactly. It's like, yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah, I'll ride the little trolley now. Thank you.
Indeed. And with that nice little dome car, it's like I've
Oh
been
my
wanting to do that
God.
forever. And it's like, and now they've got the dome car, and I'm like, oh, so
That
I need
looks
to really look into
amazing.
doing
And
that.
I think I have an adult son with severe autism. So I've been wanting to take him on that train for years. And when you showed the dome car, I was like, oh my God, probably a dream come true for him.
Oh my
I
gosh.
think he would
And
love
so
that.
yeah, because you
Yeah.
can I mean, I was watching videos of people taking it, and you can sit like
Mm.
right up in that front, so you really get this like
Oh
360
my
view
gosh.
as you're going around. And I'm like, oh, how do I book that seat?
I know he'll squeal the entire ride. I don't know what I'm going to do to keep him quiet. He'll be so
Why
excited.
keep him quiet? I mean, let everyone else squeal with delight.
It'll be like a dance party if my son is on the train.
Exactly.
I love it.
Well, we're going to do some trivia. And so now, okay, so for people who haven't done our trivia before, it's a little different than if you've done bar trivia, where it's not just, okay, here's the answer, we're done, moving on. So we are going to go through all the questions and the multiple choice answers. Then we'll take a little bit of an Arizona music break. Then we will come back and talk about the stories of those answers. Because for me, it's all about not what you know, but the stories and the learning that can happen. And we've got some really good ones coming up.
I was like,
Oh
oh
my
God,
God.
I hope I have good stories. I don't know. I don't
You
wanna
know,
fail
we'll
everybody
have fun. You know, the goal is, how can the two of us not have fun?
I know. Well, I'll just flash the Phoenix earrings again if things get boring. I mean, look at these beauties. Modified Arts. It's a little gallery in Phoenix, and I think someone affiliated with the owner makes these with a laser woodcutter. Aren't they beautiful? Aren't they stunning? Yeah, I love these.
And what I love is in the chat now, people are all like chanting, like, here's the year I got here.
Yes, I know. I saw
yeah,
that.
so it's great. People like sharing. It's like, I was here, or Ryan, who was born here.
Well, I know, because now we got a 68, a 78. I'm 88. Look at all those 8s.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
All
And
right.
I got a saguaro cactus right here on my dress.
Indeed. And so,
There's a prickly
I'm
pear
actually,
right
and I'm
there.
wearing the bikini lounge.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah,
love
I love the bikini. I'm so glad
Oh,
they're back
yeah.
open, and so
They also have one of the best signs in the valley still, right? I
They
love
do.
that vintage signage. Ooh, like the
Right.
Melrose Pharmacy sign, please. I love
yeah.
it.
Well, that whole strip is just
I
amazing
know.
with the pharmacy and
I know,
Thunderbird
it's too
Lounge, the
much.
wagon wheel.
I know. I love Melrose.
Well, and when we're such a hotbed of neon preservation, I mean, it's like if you go south to Casa Grande, it's like they've got that great neon park. Have you taken your son there yet?
No.
Oh my gosh.
There's a
They have
neon sign park? Oh
yes.
my
And so it's
God.
like right downtown. It's like 14 signs. It's lit till like 11 o'clock at night. It's so much fun.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. And that's right outside Casa Grande?
Yeah, it's right downtown.
Oh my gosh, I've got to go. Well, that's going to
And
have to be a summer road trip. That sounds amazing.
well, and when you can do a little, you can then go on to Tucson where there is the Ignite Sign Museum
Oh my
where
God.
they've been collecting signs from across the state. And it's so cool. They actually have a guy there who's bending neon tubes. So you can get a little lesson in how to bend neon.
Oh my God. Will he make you a tiny one if you pay him?
I'm sure he would.
Now, do you remember that there was an antique store on Melrose and it wasn't Zinnia's? It was another one further down the street, but they used to sell, and some of them still do, like the old metal letters from signage.
Oh,
You know what
yeah.
I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I have dug through those bins for hours, cutting up my fingers, getting tetanus. I have like hundreds of those letters at home. I don't know what I'm doing with them, but every time I see a cool metal letter that got ripped off a sign, I have to buy it. They're like in a giant bag in the garage, but I have them all over my house too. R's and B's, for my son and I, just our initials everywhere because I like these letters.
Nice. That's great. Or just random. What letters start with that?
I know, exactly. Let's play a word game.
Exactly. Let's pass the time.
I love it.
So okay. So with trivia, you can keep track of your trivia on your arm. You can keep track. I would say a frozen cocktail, but I'm gonna drink mine, so I can't keep score on my cocktail. You could do a pad and paper. If you had a lot of letters, like Rosemarie, you could keep track on letters all throughout your house. So,
Or if you have a child and you have those magnetic letters on the refrigerator.
which I don't have a child, but I do have those letters on my refrigerator.
I love it. Yes. Yes.
Because I don't have space for really big letters.
So you're just like over there on Monday, like Monday.
Exactly.
I love it.
As long as there's no duplicate, because I only have like one set. So,
Right.
all right. So we're going to get ready for some fun trivia. And so we have our first question, which is going to be on poetry and literary arts. Oh,
Marshall, I forgot. Am I reading these or are you reading?
no, I mean, we can tag team. We'll figure it
Okay.
out. So I typically, look at how small that one is. Wow. Look, I don't even hardly even see it. Oh my gosh.
Really?
All right.
Oh, I can see it.
Okay.
Yeah, what looks...
So
Oh,
which of,
yeah, I see what you mean now. The number
yeah.
one. I thought you meant
Yeah.
the word one. Okay.
Oh no, the little tiny one that's
You're right.
like
It is really
it's
tiny.
like a 3 font or something. I'm like, oops. All right. So which of the following AZ-based student-run literary journals is one of the oldest in the country? All right. So is that A, the Superstition Review, B, the Sonoran Review, C, the Hayden's Ferry Review, or D, the Grand Canyon Review? So while you're trying to figure out which of those is a student-run literary journal, as well as an Arizona-based journal, and one of the oldest in the country, we're going to move on to question 2. So the city of Phoenix has a poet laureate. I wonder who that could be. This is where you raise your hand, or yeah, exactly, do something dramatic. Oh, because it's me. So there you go.
Yeah, not you, me.
No, right. Yes, no one wants to hear me read poetry.
Since 2017. Yes, since 2017.
All right.
But there's a new poet laureate.
Yeah,
another
and which
valley.
other city now has their own poet laureate? Is it A, Scottsdale, B, Queen Creek, C, Gilbert, or D? Oh, I said Cave Creek. I meant I read the, there you go. All right. So
Either creek. Both creeks are on the
right,
table.
Right. Both creeks are on the table. So, all right. So which city do you think also has a poet laureate right here in Arizona? You should put in for the Bisbee Poet Laureate as well.
Oh.
Oh, so okay. Oh, I didn't
there's
put
so
it,
many poets in Bisbee.
I didn't.
That
Okay.
would actually be really competitive. It's a small city, but there's so many artists and poets per like square block in Bisbee.
So
That would
I,
be
I
competitive.
didn't put a photo of this, but I was recently at the Jonquil, and there's an old phone booth that is now turned into a poet booth.
Oh no, I'm in that.
Where yes, and so you dial a
Yeah.
number and
The
you get
telepoem. It's called
yes,
the
the telepoem.
telepoem booth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was so cool. I
Isn't
made
that
people
cool?
go and listen to poems.
Yeah, Shantae Orion's on there. I'm on there. Like all of our friends are on there. Yeah.
It was
A friend
so
of
much
ours,
fun.
a friend of ours who lived in Flagstaff got the grant to do it many years ago. And she had a little mini recording studio in Phoenix that like all the poets were visiting. So she
Oh,
had a finite
fun.
period of time in which to do it. I think she had at least $10,000 because it involved some technology and obviously all
Right.
the recording stuff. And then it toured. It went on a little tour.
Oh, I did not
I
know
know,
that
because I know
tour.
it was in Santa Fe for a while.
Wow.
Who knew? I had no idea.
Yeah, and now it's just sitting in Bisbee, kind of tucked off to the side, and it's like,
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yeah, it used to sit in Flagstaff when she lived there, but then maybe when she left Flagstaff, maybe she donated it to Bisbee.
that might be.
Or Bisbee was like, we want that.
Well, that's I have a feeling that was probably more the case. Like,
That's
wait a
what I
minute,
think happened too.
it showed up on Craigslist.
Flagstaff was like, we
Bisbee
don't
was the
really.
first one to be like, hey, wait a minute, we want that.
That's exactly what happened. Free telephone booth and Bisbee, city of Bisbee. You know, it was like the city council was like, we'll take that.
Right, we need that right here.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So, question 3, which of the following literary journals was a mainstay in the Valley from 2015 to 2020, hosting events ranging from guerrilla readings on the light rail to a monthly literary salon at Valley Bar? And what I know, Valley Bar.
I know.
This
is a snazzy organization. I'm just saying.
All right. So was it A, Rinky Dink? Was it A, B, Rattle, C, Merge, or D, Four Chambers? All right. So while you're trying to think, what group could you have popped on light rail and heard a guerrilla reading? Or maybe even attended a salon at Valley Bar? We are going to move on. So question 3. And question 4, inaugurated in 2013, who was the first and only poet laureate of the state of Arizona? A, Jesse Sanzabar, B, Natalie Diaz, C, T.C. Tolbert, or D, Alberto Rios? All right, so one of those fine folks was the first and only poet laureate of Arizona. All right. Question 5. Which former U.S. poet laureate taught at ASU in the 80s? Was it A, Juan Felipe Herrera, B, Robert Frost, C, Rita Dove, or D, Emily Dickinson? Wow, some of those would have been really interesting. Are we talking 1880s? We should specify whether it's 1880s or 1980s.
I swear this is the only one I even put like fake possibilities on, right? This is the only one I did that too. And it's just because I'm such a geek for that poet. Had to include them on the list, so I could weasel a story in or something.
Indeed. All right. Oh, and our next topic is going to be women's rights. All right. So question 6. Which amendment to the Constitution did Arizona have the opportunity to ratify in 2018? Was it A, the 27th, B, the 28th, C, the 29th, or D, the 30th Amendment? Which one of those did Arizona have the opportunity to ratify back in 2018? All right, question 7. On November 5th of 1912, women in the territory of Arizona, because it was actually, was it a territory?
Mm-hmm.
It was
a territory already in 1912. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Were granted the right to do which of the following? A, own property, B, carry a firearm, C, vote, or D, marry without parental consent? Oh, that's a good one. because all of those could be possibilities. All right. Oh, and now we're on to some music. All right. Question 8. Located in North Phoenix, the Musical Instrument Museum, founded in 2010 because they just did their 10th anniversary, has a collection of more than 8,000 instruments from more than 200 world countries. The founder of MIM, Bob Ulrich, is also the CEO of which company? A. Saks Fifth Avenue, B. Costco, C. Nordstrom's, or D. Target? All right, so moving on to question 9. Which of the following iconic local bands had a popular song about cannabis? Some people call it weed. And another that was a scathing critique of Sheriff Joe. Was it A, Phoenix Afrobeat, B, the Haymarket Squares, C, the Stakes, or D, the Blood Feud Family Singers?
They called it marijuana in their song, just to be clear.
Ah,
if anybody's wondering.
okay.
It was a song called Gateway Drug. That evil marijuana is a gateway drug. It was a parody, obviously.
All right. And our last question, which popular musical was filmed right here in Arizona back in 1955? Was it A, Annie Get Your Gun, B, The Music Man, C, West Side Story, which must be about Maryvale, or D, Oklahoma? All right. So which popular musical was filmed right here in Arizona? All right. Well, you are locking in your final answers. We are going to take a little bit of an Arizona music break. And, you know, it's fun on Facebook because I had a friend who was posting and it brought up a memory of Gordon Mahonen when Anti-Space brought him in from Toronto and he did a concert using vegetables. And the electricity that they produced, it was so much fun. That was back in 2011. Anti-Space was a great warehouse space downtown that did all kinds of fun events. And, you know, this was so much fun. I mean, it was all experimental music. And I just love that they did this entire performance based on vegetables. So I thought that was something great since we're talking about fresh veggies today.
Yeah.
What could be better than making music with them?
Unbelievable.
So, all right.
Well, maybe smoking them. I don't know. I shouldn't have said that, but yeah.
Well, only the weeds.
Someone told me that you could dry banana veins and smoke them. I have never tried it, and I was afraid to Google it because I don't want that on my search history.
Well, and what are even banana veins? So,
yeah, you know,
those threads when you peel the banana.
Threads, exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, you're supposed to be able to dry those and smoke them. And I really didn't want to Google it for that reason. I was like, I don't need to be any more stigmatized than I already am.
Wow, I never thought of that. And I'm okay.
This is Jerome, by the way. This is Jerome.
Really, it looks like Bisbee.
Yeah, they're twins. Their last name is Arizona. That's their last name. This is Jerome, Arizona, everybody.
That is so funny.
Yeah, they're twins. I adopted a whole litter of cats, and then I was like, I name you Arizona cities, and I give you the last name Arizona. And I'm sure they were like, what kind of madness have we gotten ourselves into with this woman?
Like, where did we wind up? Who are we living with? What's going on here? There's all these letters around. They're named after cities. What's going on?
This woman bought us a stroller. What is this?
You have a stroller for your cats?
I do.
Do you fit all three at once and go for a walk?
It's a double decker.
Oh my gosh, you have a double decker?
I do. Yeah, they don't like it, but I definitely have put the boys in it together. Yeah.
Like they don't like it, but
they don't like it. No, they don't like it. And so, you know what, they had to tell me that they didn't like it by showing me that if I let them out on the front porch with me, they would only stay on the patio slab. That is literally what they do. They will come out and sit on the front patio with me and just stay on the back. They were like, look, Mom, We're going to be really good outside. Just no more stroller. Okay. That's what. So people walk by my house and they're like, are those cats? I'm like, do they look like cats? They are cats. They're cats sitting on the front porch with me. Thank you very much. They're adorable. They're adorable.
And their names are, and then they're like, yeah, she's that crazy cat lady. Oh, watch out for her. She's going to get the stroller out. Look, she's going to grab the stroller. All right. So we're going to do some answers for the trivia. And so, indeed. So yes, put on your serious face. We'll see how long that lasts.
Yes. This is the classroom face. I got it.
Oh, that's right. Yes, indeed. Oh, and are you gonna drop into teacher voice?
I will give that a try. Yes.
Wow. All right. So which of the following Arizona-based student-run literary journals is one of the oldest in the country?
It is the Sonoran Review. It is based in Tucson, unfortunately. It's not one that we can claim. It's not affiliated with ASU. The other ones on the list were, except for Grand Canyon, I made that one up. I don't know much about the Sonoran Review because I've never worked for it. I run one of the smaller publications that is sponsored by ASU called Right On Downtown that focuses on Phoenix arts and culture. But I don't know much about Sonoran Review other than it is considered one of these, sort of esteemed literary journals because it's one of the oldest in the country. And, our universities date back to 1880. So, Sonoran Review probably dates back to the early 20th century. Tucson has a very long literary history and one that they're very proud of. They have the Poetry Center there as well that houses, I think, over 10,000 individual works of published poetry by Arizona authors.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. It's one of the largest poetry libraries in the country too. So
oh my gosh. So someone gave me Aquanetta wrote a book of poetry. And I think it's called like The Sound of Silence. And on the back it talks about what a great book it is.
Wait, what's the title of the book?
I think it's like Sound of Silence.
And who's the author? Aquanetta.
Aquanetta. Oh my God. Oh, Aquanetta. So she was.
It sounds like a drag name. Is it someone's drag name?
No, actually, no. So she was this like Hollywood star. She was in Tarzan Meets the Leopard Woman with Johnny Weissmuller.
Oh,
she
wow.
then moved to Arizona and she married Jack Ross. And so she kind of always, and so they did these like midnight movies in the 80s. Because he had a car dealership. And so she kind of became this celebrity locally. And she wrote this book of poetry that, I think is best enjoyed in silence.
Or maybe while smoking cannabis. She sounds so eccentric and interesting now.
Oh, she was a hoot.
Wow.
I mean, she actually, her husband ran for governor. He did not win, but she then wound up having a political campaign that was to get pay toilets out of public buildings.
Oh my gosh, we had pay toilets in Arizona?
Yeah,
She ones they have at the border?
Yeah. Yeah, wow. So it was like she went to the airport and didn't have a dime, and so then she launched into this whole fight against why did we pay to have these bathrooms built if we now have to pay for them again?
Wow, talk about inequity. Wow.
Yeah.
A dime to use the restroom. I can't even believe it.
So indeed.
That's a hideous slice of Arizona history right there. How many states have had pay toilets in public facilities? That's what I'd like to know.
And their fight and it was so interesting because it's like one of the reasons one of the reasons why they wouldn't try and get rid of them was because they figured that was part of their budget, was they made money on it. So that was factored into. And so
they were using toilets like the lottery. That's unbelievable. Yeah. I don't think you can play with people's bladders like that.
No, you can't. And so she stood up and said, you can't do this. And
it seems like a human rights violation. Honestly.
Very much so, or at least a bladder rights.
Who was our governor at the time? That's what I want to know. Was it Rose? Was it Rose? I don't know
No,
what
it wasn't
era
Rose.
this was. Okay.
Is-
No woman would
Well,
have ever
exactly.
allowed
No
that.
woman would have
Let's
stood
be
for
real.
that at
Because women are
all.
serious when they need to go to the bathroom. You better clear out the way. There's no way I can rifle through my purse and find that dime in time. There's no possible way. If you've had a child, forget it. Forget it. I mean, you're done. Okay, enough about incontinence. Let's move on.
Exactly. All right. So the city of Phoenix has a poet laureate. Okay. Ta-da! There you go. Yes, Rosemarie is that poet laureate. But there is another valley city that has their own poet laureate. Oh, that's me.
Is that Lois calling you to tell you we got this wrong? She's like, tell Rosemarie not to tell any bad stories about me.
So that's right. So it's Scottsdale.
It is Scottsdale. And Lois Romadili is a longtime professor of creative writing at Paradise Valley Community College. She retired several years ago, but not before winning the Community College Professor of the Year award.
Wow.
Lois is brilliant. She's a lovely woman. I've been friends with her for years. I've kind of considered her a mentor for years. And she's very, very Italian. And so am I. And so when we're together, we're very loud. And I think a lot of people think we're yelling at each other. We're just excited to see each other. I love Lois. She's a fantastic poet. So accomplished, so well published. Just a beautiful woman. So if you've never read her works, Google her, check her out, buy a book on Amazon. She's amazing.
Or go to someplace like Changing Hands that probably has her on the show.
I'm sure Changing Hands has multiple copies. Thank you for plugging our local bookstore.
Yes, indeed. Right.
I love Changing Hands. Yes. I love Changing Hands as much as I love Lois. So thank you for putting those two things together. So yeah, she is the new Poet Laureate of Scottsdale, Arizona. So let's see, which city is going to jump on the bandwagon next. Will it be Mesa? Will it be Goodyear? Who's going to have a Poet Laureate next? I don't know.
Or Bisbee with the poet showdown.
I really do think it should be Bisbee. I mean, how could it not? You know what? Here's the thing for people who don't know, and I know the Bisbee people know this. The Bisbee Poetry Festival, which existed in the 70s and 80s, was one of the most iconic poetry festivals in the country. I have a signed copy of Howl from Allen Ginsberg that he signed at the Bisbee Poetry Festival in 1980.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not going to tell you how much I paid for it, but it wasn't that bad.
No, I'm not going to
By
ask.
my estimation, it wasn't that bad. It was like less than a pair of Manolo Blahniks, but
Right. It's all perspective. I mean,
but more than a trip to the grocery store, like somewhere.
Well, it depends on which grocery store.
Let's say Sprouts.
Okay.
Let's say Sprouts.
Okay.
Right. Whole Foods. Yeah, that'd be close.
Right. Exactly.
And I'm going to say, who doesn't want the signed copy of Allen Ginsberg over the trip to Whole Foods? I mean, come on.
Right.
Of course.
All right. So which of the following literary journals was a mainstay of the Valley from 2015 to 2020 and hosting a wide variety of events from guerrilla readings on light rail to a literary salon at Valley Bar?
It was Four Chambers. We were badass. We were really badass.
Yeah, you guys sold that out. I mean, you constantly get selling out.
It was amazing. Yeah. I mean, you didn't have to buy tickets to go to the literary salon, but it was in that little library room at Valley Bar. And there's a maximum capacity because it's a tiny room with exposed pipes. It's really quaint. It looks like a 19th century library in there or reading room or something. Right. I think they call it the reading room. Anyway, we were always frequently beyond capacity. And I hosted it for the first 2 years with Four Chambers founder, Jake Friedman. And then he met this wonderful woman named Kelsey Pinkney, who worked at Changing Hands. That's where they met. He brought her on as the managing editor of the journal. So he was able to focus more on this sort of community programming, public events kind of stuff. If you went to the farmer's market during that 5-year period of time, you definitely saw Four Chambers tabling or doing pop-up poetry readings because they were there every weekend at the farmer's market. Just all over downtown Phoenix, all kinds of festivals, all kinds of street fairs. I mean, Jake and Kelsey, and I was one of the editors, but there were a lot of editors, they plugged into as many things as they could, as many cultural events, just really as many, events as they could so that literature would be more present in people's minds and, more like street art right? I mean, you don't have to be going to an art festival to appreciate street art. You might go downtown to eat and be like, wow, that's a beautiful mural. And that's kind of how like we wanted literature to be seen in Phoenix as well. And so, yeah, we were a rad group. We really were.
Now, didn't he just get accepted to a creative writing program?
He did. So they're in their late 20s, early 30s. They were very young when we were working on Four Chambers, and he's about to go off to a graduate program in poetry in Fort Collins, Colorado.
Yeah.
So the two of them are married now. I officiated their wedding.
Aww.
Yeah, it was out in the forest. It was magical. It was wonderful. It was a few years ago. But yeah, they're about to move. So they've got 2 going away parties coming up this month.
Oh, fun.
Who wants to look that up on Facebook. They're an amazingly creative couple. And they definitely, grew the literary community in Phoenix in really remarkable ways. Just happy to be a part of it. It was awesome.
Indeed. All right. So inaugurated back in 2013, who is the first and only Poet Laureate of Arizona?
ASU professor, director of Virginia Piper Center for Creative Writing at ASU, Alberto Rios.
Indeed.
Everybody's favorite mentor. I swear, like everybody my age and younger had him as a professor. There's nobody who goes through, the English program or the creative writing program or anything at Virginia Piper without knowing Tito, as he likes to go by.
Right.
So, he's kind of another Arizona staple. And if you live here, I guess you should know, who the Poet Laureate of Arizona is.
Right. And I worked with his wife at the library.
Oh my gosh, do you really?
Lupita, yeah.
What?
And I think I met him first when they were doing things in that collection on the we'll say 4th floor, where they have all the books and as well as the printing press, the Javelina press. And
gosh.
So he had written a group poem where people had submitted all these lines, and he had put them and organized them then into a poem.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I have to say this. I can't believe I've never been to your library, and I'm kind of offended.
Oh my God.
No, after I became the Poet Laureate of Phoenix, your library never invited me because I did the whole library circuit. And when I saw that picture of your library and you said the name of it, I was like, oh my God. That's the library that dissed me.
I hope it was not when I was there.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I just, I love libraries so much. Like South Mountain Library felt like home to me for the longest time. Burton Bar became like a second home to me for a while. I've done 50th celebrations at multiple libraries around the valley. I think Yucca was the most recent. Man, those community spaces. They're just
exactly.
The best.
I mean, I still love libraries. I mean, it was so funny. Last week, our guest was my friend Johnny, and he didn't realize that the Arizona room had like all the old Arizona days and ways from all the Sundays from the 50s and 60s. And so he spent like 4 hours just going through. He's like, I didn't even make it through all of them, just looking at the ads and everything else.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, in Burton Bar's Arizona room, that's where the vault is. That's where they have the printing press, or they used to have the 19th century printing press there. But they also have the vault is off of that room. And when I was there doing like a summer solstice event, and they were pressing something I'd written on the printing press, and people were rolling it, I was talking to the librarian over there, and I was asking her like what she had in the vault, like what was in their special collection. She's like, "What are you interested in?" I'm like, "I don't know. Do you have any Walt Whitman or anything?" She's like, "Oh yeah, I've got some Whitman." She's like, "I've got a signed Whitman." I was like, would you get those out for me today? And I'm not kidding. She did. I got to take photographs of them. I mean, she had like a signed Walt Whitman. It wasn't
right. I mean, that was the beauty of being in Brooklyn, where he was. I mean, it was like they had this whole like Walt Whitman signed collection of stuff that was just like,
that's right. Oh, you're so spoiled. I forgot about that. Oh my God.
Well, and it was crazy. It was like, it was like that library had like 4 sub basements.
Oh my God.
So it was like you only saw what they had out, but then there was all these stubs like in the bowels of the library that's like I would just go wander.
Oh my God, it's unbearable because like average people can't get into the bowels of those libraries. But the Houghton that's I think connected to Harvard is where all of Emily Dickinson's works are. And I go through the archives online and drool. I'm like, when can I touch those? How much grant money do I have to win? Like how prestigious of an award do I have to win before the Houghton lets me in to touch Dickinson's fascicles, because that has to happen. It has to happen at some point.
Now, I'll only say this to you. Not everyone else. Don't listen to this. So, but a lot of times you can go through back doors at libraries because if you know the right person.
Like if I knew someone who worked at the Brooklyn Library.
Right, exactly. I would have been like, oh yeah, here, come down. Let's take a little tour. And oh look, here's Walt Whitman.
Oh my God. I would just die. Like I would tell you which collections in which years even, just so you could, have them prepped and ready so I could make a quick escape. My God. I'm just such a Whitman and Dickinson geek, just such a geek, and they were still kind of the iconic poets when I was in graduate school, when I started graduate school. Of course, I was studying Adrian Rich and a bunch of those poets from like the 80s and the 90s already as well.
So she spent time in Lafayette, Indiana.
You talking about Adrian Rich?
Yeah.
Adrian Rich?
Yeah.
What was she doing in Indiana?
So I think her dad was a professor at Purdue at one point. And so
that makes sense,
because I was hanging out with this woman and it's like, oh yeah, that's Adrian Rich. I'm like, oh wow. Really?
I mean, for people who don't know, she was, really one of the first openly queer women poets. Mm-hmm. And she came out later in life and, she was known as like a second wave feminist. But she also, started talking openly about, her Jewish identity, which was sort of difficult for her, and then her lesbian identity. And so she not only was this sort of iconic poet, she was this iconic theorist and intellectual and social activist and, kind of like a Maya Angelou, but Jewish. And less well known for whatever reason. Like her name, I don't think made it to like, the popular culture in the same way that Maya Angelou did. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I think she's still kind of niche, unfortunately. But I met her because she read at ASU like decades ago when I was in my 20s, and I had Jewel Parker Rhodes sneak me in. So yeah, I have a photo with her. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I caught up with her before she passed away, so I felt like, yes, I can cross that off the bucket list.
All right. So which former U.S. Poet Laureate taught at ASU in the 80s?
The only one we can claim is Rita Dove. She taught creative writing at ASU before she became the Poet Laureate of the United States, which is obviously an extraordinary honor. The other poets on the list were interesting. T.C. Tolbert is the Poet Laureate of Tucson, for those of you who didn't know that. And I think I had Robert Frost on that list. He would have been dead, obviously, in the 80s, and Emily Dickinson as well. And that's why Smarty Pants over here was like, are you talking about the 1880s?
Well, because it didn't specify. I
mean, ASU did exist in 1880. So, if Emily Dickinson had perhaps still been alive at that point.
Because, sometimes we've been prone to like throwing out questions that could be a red herring.
Yes.
So
I was really not that shrewd when I was constructing this little trivia, which was so heavily literary and poetic. I'm so sorry, everybody.
Why? No, we're having so much fun. That's what I love about this is, there's so many ways to look at Arizona history, and this is yet another lens.
Oh,
so that's the fun of it.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I threw the music section in the hopes that, that would be a little bit more palatable to the general public. But the women's rights section is, also of my own volition, because I'm a scholar of women's literature. So I don't just focus on, poetry like of the 19th or 20th century. I do a broader swath of women's literature from the inception to the present. So
right.
And I'm a big geek for suffrage journals, if you can believe that. So, the first, second, and third wave of suffragists and the journals and the underground newspapers and the pamphlets that they published. Yeah, I'm a big geek for that material culture as well.
Did you ever go down to the Mystery Castle?
No. Oh my gosh. I'm writing so many things down.
So because, so when Mary Lou was there, I don't know if it's still there, but one of her relatives had been one of the suffragettes, and so had this whole set of like teacups.
Oh my gosh.
That were from the early days of being a suffragette.
So you're not talking about Castle Boutique. You're talking about something else called the Mystery Castle.
Oh, you don't know the
I
Mystery
don't know
Castle?
what the
Oh my
Mystery
gosh. Okay,
Castle
so
is.
if you take 7th Street all the way down to South Mountain and keep going till there's Norma Road, you will hit the Mystery Castle. So so the story of the Mystery Castle is there was this gentleman in Washington State who went to the doctor. They said, "Oh, you've got tuberculosis." So he decided that he was going to move to Arizona for his health. But he forgot to tell his wife and daughter that he was moving. So they didn't know what happened to him until they suddenly basically get this call from a lawyer saying, "Hey, you have a castle here in Arizona." So they moved here. And so Mary Lou lived in the castle.
Oh, wow.
And so he built it out of, it was really like that era where they were reusing everything. So it's like there's one room that's like built out of old booze bottles. There's tires incorporated in. So it's a great place to go take kids because there's so many things incorporated into the building.
Oh my gosh.
And so she used to live there, and it was always kind of fun because she would just like come and hang out in your tour.
I have never heard of this place. This sounds phenomenal.
Oh my gosh, we should go. Not right now because it's a little on the warm side.
My God, I cannot believe this. You know, I've been to Tico's Taco Shack out in Riverside, California, and out back, they have this sort of menagerie of buildings and sculptures that are made out of the kinds of materials you're talking about. I love that I drove to Riverside to see that.
Gosh, you could have gone to
because Shantae told me about it, and I literally then drove to Riverside to see it myself.
So you could have also gone to Mr. Lee's Rock Garden.
Oh my God.
As well as then there's another rock garden in Sunny Slope that's like on 13th Street that I don't know what shape it's in because it was starting to kind of wear thin. And it was all based out of this place out of Bend, Oregon, this rock garden that was very famous, which is now for sale. So you can go online and you can take a look at Bend, Oregon, the rock garden that's there.
And you can buy it.
Somebody could buy it. Exactly.
Wow.
And hopefully preserve it.
Oh, that's so cool.
But yeah,
I'm just over the moon about this mystery castle. I'm gonna have to look
so much fun. I mean, and anyone who has kids, it's one of those things where it's like, oh my God, take them, because there's so much stuff to look at that it's not just, oh, we're gonna go walk through this house.
Yeah, because I'm really going for the materials because that sounds so interesting. But I'm also going for these suffrage teacups that you mentioned.
Exactly.
You know, I'm not sure that's why people choose the castle as a destination, but that's why I'm choosing it, because you were like, oh, there's this woman who has this quirky collection of suffrage cups.
Yes, no, exactly. I mean,
has that? That's amazing.
Mary Lou had that. So.
That's why I'm going. Hopefully my son will enjoy the interesting textures that things are built out of while I'm drooling over the suffrage cups. You know?
Exactly. See, there's something for everybody. So
I love it. It sounds like the happiest place on earth.
All right. So question 6, which amendment to the Constitution did Arizona have the opportunity to ratify back in 2018?
Are we sure it's not the 28th?
Did I get the wrong one?
I think it's the 28th. Well, it's the ERA. It's the Equal Rights Amendment. I know I got that right. So. Yeah, I do think it's the 28th.
Okay.
But
I was close.
You were close. I don't know.
I got the right answer, just maybe not the right number.
I'm assuming the 27th has already been ratified. I don't know what it is. The reason that I'm invested in the 28th is because it's the Equal Rights Amendment. And, you know, we had a big event on the Capitol lawn leading up to the Senate vote. And the president of NOW, the National Organization of Women, flew out from DC. It was a pretty awesome event. There were a lot of cameras there. Anyway, I read a cool poem that involved a lot of name dropping of suffragettes or suffragists. It was an amazing event. And I guess we sort of thought that we had it in the bag because the women in both the House and the Senate, the Arizona House and Senate, had all assured all of these invested organizations behind the scenes that they were voting to ratify the ERA. Finally, after all of these years, we've been waiting, 40 some years for the ratification of the ERA, which would ensure equal treatment of all people under the Constitution. why the fuck have we waited all this time for that? I mean, obviously we needed this. We needed this 1,000 years ago. Anyway, it was very disappointing after all of that fanfare at the Capitol that the two Republican women who had assured us they were voting for it pulled out and did not. And so we did not become the state to ratify it. So that was very demoralizing. We thought for once, Arizona is going to be on the map for equal rights. This is amazing. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And I can't remember which state ended up ratifying it, but it was an unlikely state, like a southern state or something. And why couldn't it have been Arizona? So disappointing to all of us. But the most interesting thing, I got to tell this story. So the president of NOW was out here and she was wearing a white suit because we were all supposed to be wearing white to represent, the sort of suffragists because they wore white with the sash. So we all had the sash. Somebody made the sashes. It was beautiful. So the president of NOW flies out from DC. She's wearing a white suit while she's waiting to speak. A bird shits on her shoulder. I'm not kidding you. I've been a germaphobe my whole life. I always have wipes in my bag. Always, always, always. Alcohol swabs, everything you can imagine to sanitize people with. So I literally take out a little alcohol prep swab, one of those little squares that most people only see at the hospital. I got those in my purse, baby. So I rip one of those open and I proceed to clean the bird shit off the shoulder of the president of NOW. And I was like, this is why I came today. This is why I'm here. Has nothing to do with the poetry. This is why it was like the greatest moment of my life. It really was. I felt like I was, contributing that I never contributed before. I was like so proud of myself as a feminist in that moment.
So I was just talking to Diane Post.
Oh yeah. I was the featured entertainer or something at the conference last year, which was an enormous honor.
Yeah. And I was talking to her this morning and I said, you were going to be the guest. And she was like, well, I should be on as well sometime. So I think she's going to be on Happy Hour.
I think she should. Oh no. Was she mad that you asked me? Oh no.
No, I don't think so. It's like, no, because I was like, it's like when I was researching the question, I ran across her name. So I mentioned it. And then she started talking about her history. And I'm like, and that's when she was like, well, I should come on the show. And I'm like, you should.
She definitely should. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to send her some stuff.
Little section on women's rights. Come on. It's going to pale in comparison to hers.
And that's okay. Because again, it's we all have our own lenses.
I got the poetry covered, people. I got the poetry covered. That's why I'm really here today.
That's right. All right. So on November 5th of 1912, women in the territory of Arizona were granted the right to do which of the following?
I will say that Sarah did correct us, or me, in the chat room. Arizona was actually granted statehood in 1912 and in February. So it was no longer a territory. Okay. It was a state. And though it was not the first state to grant women the right to vote, it was one of the earliest states to grant women the right to vote. And as you noticed, 1912, it predates the passage of the 19th Amendment, which doesn't happen until 1920. So 1920. So women in Arizona were voting for 8 years before the vote was granted per the amendment to the Constitution.
Wow.
So that is pretty progressive.
Yeah, no, that is.
That's why I thought we deserved the ERA ratification too. That was another reason, I guess. So I shouldn't have said we've never done anything progressive, because look at that. Women had the right to vote in Arizona 8 years prior to the passage of the amendment. So pretty good.
Yeah, very much so.
Commendable.
All right. So MEM, the CEO, or basically the founder of MEM, is also the CEO of which company?
Isn't that funny? I honestly didn't know this. I was reading some stuff about the MEM because I wanted to create a couple questions about music. So I specifically went to the MEM.
Oh, I love the MEM.
I love the MEM too. And as an undergrad, I also studied West African dance. And there was a professor at ASU, Professor Sunkett, who was a West African man who was a professor of musicology. And he was, a big deal. He was a big deal back in the 90s and 2000s. So every time I think of the Mim, I think of Sunkit for some reason, because he was Senegalese, and, he sort of taught an entire generation of ASU students all these amazing sort of drumming techniques that were indigenous to West Africa. So that's kind of why I have this love for the Mim. I'm really interested in
Oh,
indigenous music.
so I'm wondering, so it's like, we used to have, and now with COVID, they all shut down. There were these drum circles
Oh, yeah.
that would happen, and I didn't realize that it sounds like he was probably at the forefront of kind of leading the charge.
Well, yeah, those drum circles, I don't know when they started in Phoenix, but they existed in Tempe most definitely when I was an undergrad. And this is long before there was a Tempe Town Lake or a park over there. So the drumming circles sometimes happen on Mill Avenue. They'd be on the sidewalks. But we obviously had our dance classes. I took West African dance with C.K. Gagno, and Sunkit's students, his musicology students and his West African drumming students, would provide percussion accompaniment for our dance classes. Does that make sense? You know how when people take ballet, like a pianist comes to accompany the class? Yeah. So we had students from Sunkit's class who were studying West African drumming come into our dance classes while we were practicing West African dance. So
wow,
it was cool. Yeah. So I knew all the drummers back then. I knew all the drum circle guys. They smelled like patchouli. Most of them had dreads, even if they were white. They
still do.
We just gave them a pass. That's just, I was a white girl in the class. And that was not common then. But I was a student of dance, and I was an anthropology student, and I had a profound love of West African culture, and I really wanted to study it more deeply. And I was like, what better way than to learn the dances of the culture? I was already a dancer, so I was like, this seems like a natural for me. And then I went to West Africa to study as well, and I got to study with the National Dance Company over there for a little while.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
I went to Ghana specifically. What a beautiful country.
Oh, and the food.
Everything was amazing, really. I mean, I love the fabric. I love the beads. I love the bead work. The woodworking is extraordinary. The natural environments are extraordinary. Somebody was just on NPR the other day talking about Elmina, a slave castle, which was built by the Portuguese in the 1600s. It's in the country of Ghana as well, and it's where many of the slave ships docked and loaded up. So that's a horrific place to visit, but there's a lot of sacred blessings taking place around it now. But you can tour it. It was painful. I felt like pain just walking into the space. But really, I mean, what a remarkably beautiful country and culture. So I loved every minute of it.
Yeah, no, that sounds fascinating.
I loved it. So I don't even remember what that was connected to. Oh, the Mim. Yeah, the Mim.
The Mim.
They got a lot of great West African drums there.
Well, I just love the Mim because there's so much. I mean, it's like they've got, there's so much just Arizona history in there, as well as just this amazing world collection of music with videos of then people playing the instrument you're seeing.
And the people that host, the musicians they host.
Oh my gosh.
The international features.
The last concert I went to go see there was an Inuit throat singer.
Oh my gosh.
And it was amazing.
Unbelievable.
And because it's COVID, it was literally just as COVID was starting. That they didn't shut down yet, but there was only like 20 people in the audience. So it was like this personalized concert.
Oh my gosh. Unbelievable. Wow.
She had worked with all kinds of punk musicians as well. So it was this really incredible.
How cool.
Concert. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun.
That sounds amazing. What a great plug we just gave to the Mim.
Exactly.
Mine was so circuitous. I wanted to plug all the West African professors at ASU for some reason.
Mim just
both have passed, but
Mim just celebrated 10 years.
That's
so I did a little bit with them on just kind of Arizona music history.
That's
awesome. People don't realize the amount of music history that we have here.
Yeah, who knew the guy that started Target was going to put so much of his money back into that? I mean, that seems like a really beautiful project. So thank you, Target CEO.
Indeed, and it is. It's an amazing space.
Right.
All right. Which of the following iconic local bands had a popular song about marijuana? And another one that was a scathing critique of Sheriff Joe. And it was?
It is my forever favorite band, the Haymarket Square.
Indeed.
I am a super fan, like so many other downtown artists, I think. They're iconic. We actually had them play the day of the Four Chambers light rail guerilla readings. They were playing at the substation that I was stationed at, which is the one by Changing Hands. So the 3rd Ave Camelback.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where they were playing, and that's where I met them for the first time. And then one of their lead musicians, singer, songwriter, Mark Sunman, became my partner. He was my partner for a long time. I was a super fan. Yeah, I mean, I were
indeed a super fan.
My son and I went all over the state with them. Yeah, we adored them. Just adored
what
them.
fun. I mean, the music.
Amazing. So they're like a punk bluegrass, a punk rock meets bluegrass kind of protest band. They are the most fun imaginable. They don't just play, things that sound like traditional bluegrass, but some of their songs do. There's a lot of bluegrass that's like really fast and kind of like punk chord heavy. There's some that are a little bit bluesier. There's some that are a little bit swingier. 3 guys in the band named Mark, so very confusing. All amazingly hip. Some might dare call them hipsters. Just an amazing group of men. And then there was John. So the original, I guess, was 3 Marks and a John. They were spectacular. And they won Pickin' in the Pines. The Bluegrass Festival up in Flagstaff. They won the music competition up there one year. I was just crying, hysterical, girlfriend in the audience. I just adored them. I still will follow them anywhere. They had a reunion show like 2 months ago, and my son and I were there dancing until long after the show ended. So.
Nice.
They are the bomb. But I also had Phoenix Afrobeat Orchestra on that list.
Oh, indeed. And oh my God. Yeah, no.
Amazing. I mean, first of all, yeah, I'm so in love with them. They're my second favorite local band of all times. And I will say their percussionist, Scott White, was my best friend in college. And wait for it, he took the West African dance classes with me.
See, there you go.
Met.
See,
That's
look, I like how we've gone full circle.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Exactly. And the funny thing was he was a percussionist, but he wanted to learn the dances. So he took the dance classes. Amazing. Then when I went to Ghana to study, he could not come. He did not have the funds. He had not been saving money in a coin purse like Rosemarie had been doing for years. So I went to Ghana and I bought him a djembe because I knew that was his preferred drum, and I brought it back for him. So his first djembe actually came from that trip that I took to Ghana. And look at him now. He's a superstar. He's
Indeed.
A superstar.
Yeah.
And college Rosemarie bought him his first fucking drum. That is mentoring. That's what I got to say about that.
Indeed.
Oh, man.
All right. So, which popular musical from 1955 was filmed right here in Arizona?
Well, I think it's weird that they filmed Oklahoma in Arizona. But Hollywood does a lot of weird shit. So I was in The Music Man and Oklahoma when I was a kid. So it's not my favorite musical, but I do like that song. Oklahoma, where the wind comes whipping down the trail. Something like that. It's fun. But yeah, I guess Arizona just looks more cowboyish.
Well, it was done in southern Arizona, and Oklahoma was so upset that they actually threatened to ban Arizonans from coming to visit Oklahoma.
Are you serious?
Yeah, there was actually talk of that.
Wow, I had no idea that it caused such a scandal. Oh my God.
And I think one of the reasons why they chose Arizona was because everywhere they wanted to shoot in Oklahoma, there were oil rigs.
Oh, really?
And so the time period they were looking at was pre-oil rigs, so they couldn't have those in, and computer editing wasn't a thing then, so it would have taken too much effort. So, and also I think we were at that point giving tax incentives, so they decided to film right here in Arizona.
Wow. we were kind of a popular Hollywood destination at that point, you know, because
We
all the
were.
Westerns were using, what is it up in Four Corners up there?
Well, yeah, I mean, you had that whole area. I mean, Sedona, Cottonwood, there were so many films shot up in there.
The Painted Desert, is that what it's called?
Jason.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
mean, so many of those Westerns were
Yeah,
those classic Westerns. I mean, John Wayne was a staple here.
right. I mean, we had definitely the cowboy look in so many different locations. And I guess I figured that's why they just went with Arizona for that musical. But it makes sense that Oklahoma would be pissed. Why wouldn't they be pissed? You know?
Right. Well, and it'll be interesting to see now, I think, with the film school opening up out in Mesa, the Sidney Poitier Film School from ASU is opening up out there. And so I think it'll be really intriguing to see a whole new generation of filmmakers looking at Arizona landscapes in a different way than traditionally what people have thought of our landscapes,
and using those landscapes in different plots and in different storylines.
Exactly. And completely getting away from some of those stories that people know about Arizona and completely new stories.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I hope some indigenous stories too. And I'm guessing given the presence of indigenous students at ASU, that's a real possibility. So.
Yeah, exactly. That's my hope, is that we'll tell a more variety, more diverse stories.
Sarah, I'm sorry. It was so quirky and niche, but you know, I would say 5 out of 10 is pretty good.
Well, and that is very good. Actually, for trivia
like
here,
if you are not really a literary arts person, how the hell were you going to know any of those? Except maybe that Emily Dickinson one.
Because it's like at least 2 of them you could cross off right off the bat because they were dead. There was no way they were here in the 80s.
It was so poetry heavy. I do feel badly for everybody because
no, you don't. You don't feel bad for people. No, I mean that's the thing.
I just feel like when I do poorly on multiple choice, you know, it affects my self-esteem.
But you know, I mean, I love to talk about is the fact that it's not necessarily how many you got right, but look at all the stories that you've got a chance to hear that you wouldn't have heard otherwise.
That's right. It was how much work did you walk away with? Exactly.
Right. I mean, and now it's like, and now you know about the Mystery Castle.
I know. Oh my gosh. That was the greatest gift of tonight. There's a circle around it on my paper. Like I've been taking notes. Look at that. Mystery Castle with the circle around it. Oh my gosh. I love it so much. I should have known this was going to be a blast. So,
of course.
Look at me.
Yes,
I should have known.
Exactly. No, that's why
I was telling my friend Pam Stewart, she's an amazing historian who just retired from ASU. And I told her earlier tonight, I'm like, I'm probably the least equipped host for this particular show. Like, what do I know about Arizona history? I had to throw in so much Poet Laureate history so that I'd look like I knew something.
But that's the fun of having so many different diverse people on, is there's so many stories in Arizona to tell.
That's true. And our literary arts history is rich. The whole quiz could have focused on those questions, but I took some out because I thought it was cruel.
Right. I mean, there's more. I mean, it could have been entirely literary history. I mean, including like Zane Grey. I mean, there's so many things that could have been there.
Yes. So. It could have been 10 questions on Emily Dickinson, which would have violated the rules, but sometimes I don't care about the rules. So,
So Maurice, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your passions of Arizona and learning a few things as well. That's always the fun, is there's always stories and we're always learning new things about Arizona.
It was awesome to interact with you for this hour. Thank you so much.
Oh, what an amazing,
fun honor. Thank you.
Yeah, and definitely, I mean, once it gets cooler, we should definitely do a little excursion, I think, off to the Mystery
Castle. Love that.
That would be so much fun.
And then I need to come see your library too.
It's like I haven't been, so I left Library Land like 2009.
Oh my God, did you really?
I did. It was like, I walked away just because I was like, I wanted to do this whole thing that I didn't even know what it was going to turn into.
Oh, that's kind of amazing. Wow.
So I didn't want to look back and be like, oh, I wish I'd taken that opportunity those years ago to do that. So I was like, let's just pull the trigger and make it happen.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Well, good for you. That's phenomenal. Okay, good. Let's just go to the Mystery Mansion then.
Sounds like a plan to me.
The Mystery Mansion. I love how I'm blending Scooby-Doo into it now.
Right, exactly. We'll take the Mystery Mobile down there.
The Mystery Van? Are we going to the Mystery Van? The Mystery Mansion?
Actually, I probably can get a Mystery Van.
I would love it.
We'll have to get a dog and take some Scooby snacks.
It sounds perfect. I always compare myself to Velma because if my glasses are not on my face, that's what I'm doing. I'm feeling with my hands for my glasses.
And she was always my favorite on Scooby-Doo.
I love her.
Indeed.
I mean, she's nerdy and blind, so I've always aligned myself with her. And I love orange. I mean, who loves orange? Who's like, orange is my favorite color? It's mine. Look at that orange lamp back. Can you see that vintage orange lamp back there?
Yeah. No, I've been eyeing that orange lamp. So
yeah, I only have vintage lamps in this house. I mean, I'm waiting for everything to go up in an electrical fire because it's an old house. So it's probably stupid of me to only have vintage lamps, but teal and orange.
Nice. Oh my God, Hojo colors.
I know. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm all about the Hojo. Yeah, that teal and orange.
I used to stay at the Hojo when I was a kid.
So, and that was kind of the reason for the house being seafoam and cantaloupe. It was a variation of Hojo colors.
God, you're right.
So
wow, that's beautiful. Mine is still 6 shades of beige. So I need to do something about that. I felt definitely somehow culpable. I don't know. When you said that, I was like, wow, yeah. It's a point of shame for me. So I'm going to go work on those paint colors right now.
That's right. Well, again, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night.
Thank you too, Marshall.
And I'll see you soon.
So much fun. All right. Bye, everybody. Bye. Good night. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. So now it is time for From the Vault. And so I had mentioned that next on Sunday, we're doing the Juneteenth out at the Arizona Heritage Center. And so I was meeting with my friend Todd. Uh-oh, I just did something. I don't know what I did. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. I was like, wait a minute. You know, you click on the wrong thing. So how many of you grew up with Viewmasters? I mean, you know, one of these things was sitting at my grandparents' house, and I could spend hours with those little reels, popping them in and out and looking at all the stories it was telling and all the different things. And so a few years ago, I learned that this man, Charles Harrison, who was a graduate of Carver High School in South Phoenix, went on to design the Viewmaster that I grew up with. It is the Model G, and it was in operation from 59 through the 70s. And so when the Arizona Heritage Center said, hey, do you want to do something with this? I was like, yes, I do. And I wasn't quite sure what it was going to turn into. But did you know you can make Viewmaster reels? So I had a Viewmaster reel that kind of tells Charles Harrison's story, including the fact that he was at Carver. He went on to not only design the lead of the team that designed the Viewmaster, he designed the very first plastic wastebasket. And so he is considered to be, in like 2008, he actually, from the Cooper Hewitt School of Design, he won a Lifetime Achievement Award for his abilities. So I'm so happy to be able to sit there and chat about Charles Harrison, because people need, I love the fact that he was such a iconic mid-century modern designer with ties to Arizona. So there you go. So now you'll see why I'll say you should share on Facebook, because you'll hear stories here that you probably won't hear on any other history program or out of any other historian, good or bad. But, but Rosemarie, thank you so much for coming on. What a sheer delight. And so next week we have Eva Steele, who is a local performer. And so that's going to be a really fun show as well, with all kinds of, she's a pageant winner. She is also involved in the Imperial Court. So there's going to be lots of things demystified that I know very little about. So it's going to be quite an education, I know, for myself. And I hope you will enjoy me on that journey. So that is next Thursday at 7 o'clock. Same bat time, same bat channel. Now, please, if you didn't get anything into the chat, or you have an idea or suggestion, please throw me a note, because I love to hear from you folks. And so I always love to get a shout out to PJ, my cocktail advisor, who knew you can now get freezer baggies full of booze to just dump into a cup and make a nice frosty cocktail. As well as Chris and Cole, who did that video at the very beginning. Thank you so much for that. And our parting words for today are going to be from another performance artist, Miss Vonda K. Van Dyke, who is also Miss Arizona. So we are going to see her as she is doing her talent portion of the Miss America pageant.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll compromise. What do you mean? Well, we'll sing a duet. You think you can do that? Look, I mean, you sing a line, and then I'll sing a line. I didn't mean that we both sang together. Yeah, I didn't think you'll love that good. All right, look, remember, wherever we go and whatever we do, we're going to have to go through it together.